Hallo und willkommen zu meinem Stream. Mein Deutsch ist nicht sehr gut, Entschuldigung. Yes, so we're going to be doing some more Black Mirror tonight. But we just finished Black Mirror, I hear you say. Yes, well, I was told that, well, okay, one of the things people mentioned frequently during the playthrough of the Black Mirror was that the English voice acting wasn't very good, and I had it suggested to me that the German voice acting was done by, I believe, a lot more competent voice actors. So I thought it would be interesting to have a look at that. This also gives me an excuse to go back to the game after I've rewatched what's he's called, Ross from Accursed Farms video on this, which I do recommend if you I don't know, enjoy the game or whatever, because his videos are entertaining, and he does a good job of mentioning when he's going to get into spoiler territory. So you can watch it and he gives a point to bail if you wish to play the game yourself. I don't remember whether I watched the entire video through the first time. I might have actually not. So the ending of it was completely new to me. But yeah, anyway. Hello, welcome. So yeah, this is not going to be a full playthrough. As I said, my German is not very good. I have 7th grade German to go off of, which was back in 2001. I think my German is worse than my Japanese, and my Japanese is not good. So I will understand the basics of it, but a lot of objects and other things like that will be lost on me. So unfortunately, I can't put English subtitles. So if you're like me and your German's not very good, we're going to be in the same boat. But that's fine. We just play through it. We will know the gist of what's going on. So yeah, you can just watch Ross's video. Hey, hello, welcome. Okay, let's get this loaded here. Something we just missed is there was a different video right at the beginning, because there's a different company which did this localization. So I missed that out, unfortunately, but as you can see here, this is the German version of the game. We're going to watch the intro cutscene, because it's all voice acted. Even the cutscenes are redubbed, which is pretty neat. I believe I have subtitles on. Nope, I don't. They reset. Okay. I'll put them on, even though they're in German. And we'll start Neuspiel.
Lieber Samuel, es fällt nicht leicht, die passenden Worte zu finden für diese ersten Zeilen, die du hoffentlich liest. Ich hoffe, dass mein Brief deine Hände so bald wie möglich erreichen wird. Denn viel Zeit bleibt nicht mehr übrig. Seit deinem Weggang habe ich meine ganze Kraft dazu aufgewendet, in endlosen Stunden der schlaflosen Nächte nach der Wahrheit über unsere Familie zu suchen. Daher wende ich mich an dich, Samuel, denn ich weiß, dass du meiner Bitte nachkommen wirst. In diesem Umschlag findest du den Ring unseres uralten Erbes. Es ist sehr wichtig, dass du ihn immer bei dir trägst. Pass sehr gut darauf auf. Kehre bitte zu unserem Schloss zurück und hilf mir. Ich weiß, dass meine Zeit knapp wird. Ich habe Angst.
Okay, and we'll watch through the next part because they've actually redone the cutscene as well. That's cool. They would have had to have changed the text and all that used in it. That's
Nach der
interesting.
Trauerfeier kehrten wir gemeinsam nach Black Mirror zurück. Die lange Fahrt durch die düstere Landschaft schien kein Ende zu nehmen. Während der Fahrt herrschte Schweigen. Als sich unsere Blicke trafen, waren sie voller Trauer. Aber in unseren Gesichtern war nicht nur Kummer zu sehen. Für Victoria und Robert war ich gewissermaßen ein Fremder. Meine unerwartete Rückkehr nach mehr als 12 Jahren war der Anlass für die unausgesprochenen Fragen in ihren Augen.
Was passiert ist, tut mir aufrichtig leid.
Danke, Heinz. Ich weiß nicht, was ich sonst sagen soll. William hat mir alles bedeutet. Und jetzt?
Du brauchst nichts mehr zu sagen, Victoria. Heute ist ein trauriger Tag für uns alle. Ich glaube, ich lasse dich jetzt allein. Wenn du mich bitte entschuldigst.
Du musst nicht gehen. Du bist mir ein ebenso guter Freund, wie William es war.
Ich schätze deine Worte. Aber ich glaube, ich sollte jetzt gehen.
Ich bitte dich, sei unser Gast.
Ich bleibe gern, wenn es dein Wunsch ist. Mich interessieren einige Bücher in der Bibliothek. Ich ziehe mich dorthin zurück, wenn es dir wirklich nichts ausmacht.
Nein, ganz und gar nicht.
Danke. Ich werde in der Bibliothek sein.
Bates, falls Heinz etwas benötigt, helfen Sie ihm bitte.
Aber natürlich. Sie können sich auf mich verlassen, Madame.
Ich möchte nicht unhöflich sein, aber ich glaube, du könntest etwas Ruhe brauchen.
Du bist so einfühlend wie immer, Robert. Ich möchte eine Weile mit meinen Gedanken allein sein.
Das ist absolut verständlich. Samuel, würdest du mich bitte in mein Arbeitszimmer begleiten?
Ja, gerne.
Oh, Samuel, bitte bleib. Ich möchte kurz mit dir sprechen.
Selbstverständlich. Würdest du mich bitte entschuldigen, Robert? Wir sprechen uns später.
Ich werde in meinem Arbeitszimmer sein.
Samuel, sag, bist du zurückgekehrt, um für immer bei uns zu bleiben?
Um ehrlich zu sein, ich habe mich noch nicht entschieden. Lass mir bitte noch etwas Zeit.
Vergiss nicht, wir sind immer noch deine Familie. Du bist ein Gordon und du gehörst hierher, genau wie alle anderen Gordons vor dir.
Ja, dessen bin ich mir wohl bewusst. Aber ich muss meine Gedanken ordnen. Vielleicht kann ich dann deine Frage beantworten.
Oh, ich hatte so gehofft, dass du Ja sagst. Mir geht es nicht sehr gut. Bitte entschuldige mich jetzt, Samuel.
Natürlich. Ich gehe auf mein Zimmer.
Sir, ich habe mir erlaubt, Ihr Zimmer aufzuräumen. Ich glaube, Sie werden mit dem Ergebnis zufrieden sein. Hier ist der Schlüssel. Ihr Koffer ist schon im Zimmer.
Danke, Bates. Victoria möchte, dass ich bleibe. Vielleicht hätte ich es ihr versprechen sollen. Aber ich habe mich noch nicht entschieden. Vielleicht später. Bates hat mein Zimmer hergerichtet. Ich sollte es mir ansehen.
Okay, there we go. So, yeah, also, one thing, let me just bring up something. As I said earlier, having rewatched the video, of having rewatched Ross's video and just finishing the game. It helped refresh my memory on some things which I would like to talk about in this. So, as I said, my German is not very good. So when it comes to like accent or intonation, I guess I'm not going to be good at telling that apart. The general tone of someone's voice, I can sort of tell. So far, I like the voice actor for Robert. He seems to do a lot better at just sounding like a normal person than he does in the English version, where he kind of came off as like he'd been given directions that he's kind of a sneaky, creepy guy. In this, he sounds more normal to me, at least. Samuel, he sounds about the same to me as in the English version, but I guess there's a bit more life to his voice. So I can sort of tell he's done better in this than in the English version. So, touch of inflection in his voice. Voice acting is miles better. Your level of German is whatever English borrowed. That's a lot. Well, English is a Germanic language, so Samuel sounds like a coma patient in English. As I said, I'm not going to be able to tell really. Yeah, I'm not going to get like the sort of tonal inflections as well in German, but I do agree he does sound better in this than in the English version. That's also
Hier
helped me.
hinterlegt Bates unsere Post. Im Moment ist keine Post da.
So, it's also going to help me learn the words for the German words for things. He speaks normally in German. Okay, right, yeah. So he's
Der
not as
Grundstein des ursprünglichen Schlosses, den Marcus und Mordred im Jahre 1206 gemeinsam legten. Er besteht aus einem seltsamen Gestein, das eine ungewöhnliche Kraft ausstrahlt, wie William es ausdrücken würde. In seiner Nähe spürt man die Atmosphäre längst vergangener Jahrhunderte.
I wonder if they do the thing where they put the little dashes before and after something he's thinking about. I didn't see it there, but it might have only showed up when he's actually talking to someone.
Auf der Marmortafel stehen die Namen aller Lords unserer Familie, die hier gelebt haben.
Okay, I'm not going to be able to comment too much about it because it's immediately going to things which I don't understand. We'll go around, talk to some of the people
Marcus Gordon,
on the
der jüngere
grounds.
der beiden Brüder, die unsere Familie gegründet haben.
Okay, we've seen that. It still sounds slow, but that's both very hard to change and harder to discern. Yeah, I think the slowness is more just an issue with the game's engine, because it's like loading the dialogue for the next person, and it's like they have to play out an animation before they can start talking, so it slows things down. He enunciates like his life depends on it. It's practically normal compared to English. Okay. I guess that's maybe supposed to be like, I don't know, would that make sense for the like upper class pronunciation? Like he's enunciating very clearly because he's had like speech classes or something.
William hat oft hier gesessen und in der Zeitung gelesen, aber das ist schon sehr lange her.
German for the hard of hearing. Okay, so, as I mentioned also, this gives me an excuse to go back to some of the things which I could talk about in it, since I've had a bit of time to like, oh yeah, that was something, and watching Ross's video helped highlight some of the things to me. I have a notepad open here with a bunch of things which I wrote down, which I'm going to go over, because we were talking about some of the reviews were pointing out plot holes and so on.
Viele Bücher für lange Abende. Ich habe im Moment keine Zeit darin zu lesen.
In the game, and I said I don't really remember any plot holes, but I actually have a list of things which are kind of an issue now, so I can go over them. I have divided into major and minor plot holes. This is just my opinion on them. So I think if we talk to him here, maybe? Or does he mention it later on? Herman at one point mentions that Sir William has burn marks
Doktor,
on
kann
his
ich kurz
body.
mit Ihnen sprechen?
That never comes up again. I'm just waiting for him to
in
talk.
Ordnung.
Okay. So yeah, Herman at one point mentions that Sir William's body, because he's been examining it at his morgue, I assume not only did it have massive trauma because he fell on a spiked fence, apparently it also had burn marks on it from something. This, again, as I said, this doesn't come up at any point later on in the game. This is going to be spoilerish, so if you haven't watched the video of my series or another series, you don't know what happens in the game, then if you want to play it yourself, don't watch this. So, spoilers. Considering later on that for many of the murders which happened in the game, it's given as being Samuel's doing under the influence of his ancestor or whatever. And then I guess you could put forward that maybe Robert killed William because he found out about his will or some other reason, because William knew about Robert's experiments with chemicals. We'll get to that. Why then are there burn marks on his body? That doesn't make sense. One, Samuel couldn't have killed William because Samuel wasn't here until after William had died, because he only arrived just now, or just a bit before, for the funeral. And two, Robert mentions a few things about it, like William was locked in his tower with the door locked on the inside. How did Robert get in? As far as we know, there are two keys for the tower. One was on one was on William's body, which Victoria, his wife, had destroyed so that nobody could go into the tower. And the second key is located in the globe in the study over here in the other corner.
Es geht William. Ich weiß, dass Sie nicht nur sein Arzt, sondern auch sein Freund waren.
Ja, das gilt für Ihre ganze Familie.
As far
Was
as we
haben Sie denn
know,
auf dem Herzen, Gordon?
Robert didn't
Ihnen
know
ist wohl
about the key
klar,
in the
dass dies
globe.
kein angemessener Zeitpunkt ist, um über William zu sprechen.
Ich glaube nicht, dass es ein Unfall war.
Nun, es ist in der Tat seltsam. Wie sollte es nur passiert sein? Und diese Verbrennungen,
Was für Verbrennungen?
zahlreiche tiefe Verbrennungen. Ich habe keine Ahnung, woher sie stammen.
Reden Sie weiter.
Nicht jetzt, Mr. Gordon. Ich möchte heute wirklich nicht mehr darüber reden. Kommen Sie morgen wieder, dann erzähle ich Ihnen gerne alles.
Also gut, dann erwarten Sie morgen meinen Besuch. Ich werde bestimmt kommen. Dr. Herman weiß etwas Wichtiges.
Okay, they do have the
Ich
little
muss morgen mit ihm
dashes there.
sprechen.
That's him thinking. That actually, he does, I can tell he has a different tone there when he's thinking. It's sort of more, it's slightly lower tone, and it feels like it's closer to the mic. So, yeah. Does this assume everyone's being truthful? No. This is just, I guess this is just my thoughts on things. I understand some of this can be just explained as being, you know, oh, it's mystery. There's magic, weird, mysterious forces going on. The intro cutscene makes it seem like something was climbing up the outside of the tower and then tossed him out when it came in through the window. Something like that. That could be just for dramatic purposes. I don't know. I don't know if that's explained in the second and third games. I haven't played those. I don't know if I will. I have to think about it. This is something else here. Herman just said, I called it enough, that he knew something else about the body of William, and he's telling us to come to his morgue tomorrow because he'll tell us more about it. Or come later. Anyway, he never brings this up again. Or rather, he does. We bring it up with him, but he forgets what he was talking about and he dismisses it. So, what was he going to tell us about? I don't know. We know he's in cahoots with Roberts to dispose bodies of the inmates which Robert is performing experiments on. But in regards to William, I don't feel like there's any real reason for him to be doing anything suspicious with that. So, I don't know. Let's see, what are my notes? Yeah, so, I mean, as I said, the other key for the tower is in the globe over here. The globe's closed. We had to find the orbs, the planets, somewhere. I forget. I think they're actually... Where are the orbs for this kept? I think they're over here in the secret cabinet. So, they're still there. So, Robert couldn't use that key. Maybe there's a third key. I don't know. Second one is a great sequel. The third is horrible. Okay. What's my plan for this stream? There's light dabbling in DE. German, I guess? This is really just, like, to listen to some of the voice acting for the characters and to give my thoughts of it. It's going to be quite brief. We will go to something else after this. I have more planned. Don't worry about that. This is just, like, I guess, closing thoughts for the game. German voice actor for the main character also did the voice in the English version, so you hear the German accent. In the second and third game? Or in this one? Because that's in the second and third game, if that's alright. That'd be interesting. Second and third. Oh, okay. That's neat.
Am Boden ist etwas schmutziges Wasser. Vielleicht waren früher Blumen darin.
Okay, let's go talk to Robert. Because, as I said, I do kind of like his voice actor more in this than in the English one. Just because he just sounds more normal. Nach oben gehen. Zum Zimmer. Okay. Robert's Arbeitszimmer. I can practice my German. And annoy everyone because my accent's bad. So Robert here. Robert here.
Darf ich einen Moment mit dir sprechen?
Natürlich. Ich unterhalte mich gerne mit dir. Wir haben einander schon so lange nicht mehr gesehen. Wie viele Jahre sind es?
12, vielleicht mehr.
Eine wirklich lange Zeit. Ich freue mich, dass du wieder da bist.
Ich bin nicht für immer zurückgekehrt. Ich bin nur wegen Williams Beerdigung hier.
Wirklich? Das ist schade. Ich dachte, du bleibst wenigstens für ein paar Monate bei uns. Vielleicht überlegst du es dir ja doch noch. Also, worüber möchtest du reden?
Okay, sorry, I can't talk over when other people are talking. I just have to wait. So Robert here, we know, is experimenting on chemicals. He's been administering them to inmates. We read his diary about how he's having to up the dosage for some purpose. What's all that about? The game doesn't elaborate on it. It's just something he's doing. He talks about having done it with Herman, who is helping him dispose of the bodies. He's been apparently doing it for quite some time. What are his goals for that? I don't know. The game doesn't go on any further with that. It's just something he's doing and, okay, evil stuff. I don't know. It's not even really tied, it's not even tied into, like, a curse of the family or the ancient ancestors' influence on him causing him to do evil things or something like that. It just seems like he's doing this, I don't know, of his own free will for some reason. Yeah. Is he trying to, like, I can't even guess. Is he trying to mind control people? Make them into super soldiers? I don't know. It's just, yeah, weird. He's doing something, but we don't learn anything else about it.
Was denkst du über das, was William zugestoßen ist?
We won't talk about
Das
everything
ist
with
aber
him.
eine seltsame Frage.
But as I
Was
said,
soll ich denn darüber denken?
I do like his
Ich
voice
glaube
acting
nicht,
here.
dass es ein Unfall war,
It sounds more
geschweige denn
normal.
Selbstmord.
Ich fürchte, du ziehst voreilige Schlüsse, Samuel. Du glaubst doch nicht etwa, dass es Mord war, oder?
Nein, aber mal ehrlich, wer bringt sich im Herbst seines Lebens um? William war ein sehr alter Mann.
Hör mal. William war alleine im Turm, als es passierte, und die Tür war von innen abgeschlossen. Also ist Fremdeinwirkung ausgeschlossen.
Warum hat er dann keinen Abschiedsbrief hinterlassen?
Das weiß ich nicht. Und ich will auch nicht darüber nachdenken. Ich versuche gerade, meine Gedanken von Williams Tod abzulenken und ich habe überhaupt keine Lust, darüber zu reden.
Wie ist es möglich, dass Robert gar nicht daran interessiert ist? Bin ich der Einzige, der die Wahrheit über Williams Tod wissen will?
Okay, we'll just
Ich muss jetzt gehen.
Gut, dann wende ich mich wieder meiner Arbeit zu.
Okay. Let's see. At this point, we're going to have to jump ahead a little bit because I'm not playing through the entire game again to get to certain points to point them out. So,
Die Tür ist abgeschlossen.
Oh, right.
Bates hat mir seinen Schlüssel gegeben. Ich kann sie aufschließen.
yes, okay, we have to use our key on the door. Schlüssel. Okay.
Hier hat sich überhaupt nichts verändert. Mir ist, als wäre ich erst ein paar Tage fort. Willkommen daheim, Samuel.
Okay. The voice actor for Victoria in the German version, I do like her. It sounds equivalent to the English one, which I actually liked her voice actor in the English version. So it's as good as, if not
Ich habe
better,
nur
in that
einige
regard.
Reisenecessairs darin.
Did we ever hear about that mirror and his sister? Oh, yes, right. So, I was confused on something. I mean, I'm still not sure whether the game clarified on this.
Abgeschlossen. Soweit ich mich erinnern kann, enthält sie nur ein paar...
I believe
Aber
the game.
wo-
I believe
Ich werde-
Ross in his video mentions that.
Ich werde
The picture in here is of his wife.
Da ist etwas. Das ist der
There
Schlüssel.
might be mentions of that in the manual, which I haven't read.
Ich wusste das.
So that could be there. But I was confused as to whether that was his wife or his sister. I'm going to assume it's his wife, who apparently died in a fire in the mansion, and it was apparently Samuel's fault. That's something else the game doesn't clarify on this here. If we look at it, ooh, fire. I guess we can assume this was at least 12 years ago.
Verzeih mir, Catherine. Ich muss keine...
Yeah, take the camera.
Ich muss keine...
Oh, you don't need the camera, I guess.
Meine Bibel.
Okay. We'll just leave it. Let's leave. I want to talk to the gardeners and all that. Okay. Moving ahead again. We remember later on in the game, when we come back from Wales, we learn that Vic the kid from the town has been killed by wolves. Or supposedly by wolves. Later on they say it's not actually... He hasn't actually been killed by wolves. This is something which doesn't make sense, because if we assume that Samuel has been under control of forces performing the killings, how could he have been here to kill Vic if he was in Wales at the time? Because when we hear about Vic's death, what's happening at that time? Are we back here and then we do we go to bed here? I was under the impression that we arrived here, and when we arrived we learned about Vic's death. Though we might have actually been woken up after we'd gone to sleep here after travelling back from Wales. So I guess maybe there's a chance that Samuel killed Vic just as he got back, but nah. Anyway. But that also comes... And then later on, we learn that Robert is killed and the illegitimate son of William James is found next to his body and is assumed to be the murderer, which we know is not the case. It was Samuel who killed Robert. However, I believe at the same time, or at the same night, Samuel also apparently killed Herman. So did he kill both of them? there's also the fact that Herman didn't really have as much blood in him. Considering he was decapitated, there wasn't like blood all over the floor and everywhere. So... about blood, that goes into Henry the gardener, who...
Mein Name ist Samuel Gordon. Sie sind Morris, der Stallknecht, nicht wahr?
We learned that Henry, when he dies, doesn't have any blood in his body.
Ja, Sir, ich weiß, wer Sie sind. Bates hat mir von Ihnen erzählt.
Ich habe eine Frage an Sie, Morris.
I like his voice. He sounds much better in the German one than in the English one. Maybe it's just because he's not putting on this exaggerated accent, or as far as I can tell.
Was können Sie mir über Bates erzählen?
Was wollen Sie über ihn wissen?
Nun, ich weiß es nicht genau. Er ist anders als früher.
Mir kommt es so vor wie immer. Der gleiche alte, hochnäsige Trübsalbläser.
Früher war er nicht so.
Das ist möglich. Ich kenne ihn ja erst, seit ich hier arbeite.
Wie lange arbeiten Sie denn hier?
Fast 5 Jahre.
I think he'd be saying that he was just saying that he'd worked here for the last year. At least that's what he said in the English version. So, let's see, what else is there?
Morris, wie war Ihr Verhältnis zu Sir William?
Naja, wie das zwischen einem Stallknecht und einem Pferdebesitzer.
Okay.
Ich meine,
Okay, I'm gonna start skipping
Ich gehe
dialogue.
dann jetzt.
As I said, I can't think while this is going on. It's either I listen to it or I talk. We'll go to Henry. But yes, I was talking about Henry. We find out that Henry died by drowning in the pond, apparently. Turns out, no. He died of excessive exsanguination. All of his blood was removed before he was found in the pond. Or in the fountain. That's not explained. Did Samuel drain all the blood out of his body? How did he do that? Supernatural forces, I guess. Where did it end up? He has a vision of seeing blood in the grinder over there, but that doesn't seem to be anything more than just mysterious visions and so on. So, yeah. Going on to the uncle in Wales, if you remember, we talked to, I guess, our uncle in the Wales manor, who is performing experiments in his laboratory there. I think that's kind of described as him just wanting to like regain fame he had when he was younger in chemistry, but it's kind of a lot of apparatus he's got there, as well as large glowing vials of green liquid to do something. Again, we don't learn anything else about that. What else? What else have I got? The detective is very dismissive about the murders. That's not really a plot hole, but I feel like Detective Collier, or whatever his name is, for a lot of the murders, he doesn't seem to be very fazed by them. Or, as I said, dismissive. It's just sort of like, oh, the kid's been ripped apart, or something like that. Okay, well, we're investigating it. And then later on, it's like, oh, well, James was behind this, because he's a madman, and we found it next to the bodies. And then it's like, oh, well, he killed himself because he's a madman. It's like, oh, okay. It kind of puts, in the English version at least, it kind of puts him forward as possibly being involved in it more, just because he doesn't seem to be doing a very good job as a detective. I guess he couldn't have been, because otherwise he'd get in the way of our own investigation. Let's see. I have something written down. In the study inside, there is a black statue, and it's mentioned as holding an amulet of some kind. You can look at it, but there's nothing else about it. I think it's just there for detail or something, but I did think for a while that it might have popped up again at some later point, but no, just seems to be there for something. Let's talk to
Guten
Henry.
Morgen.
Guten Morgen, Sir. Mein Name ist Henry. Ich kümmere mich um den Garten. Es ist kein leichter Job. Ich habe niemanden, der mir hilft. Aber wahrscheinlich wollten Sie mit mir über etwas anderes sprechen, Sir. Was kann ich für Sie tun, Sir?
Ich möchte Ihnen nur ein paar Fragen stellen. Wie lange arbeiten Sie hier, Henry?
Etwa ein Jahr, Sir.
Der Garten kommt mir etwas vernachlässigt vor. Früher stand hier alles in Blüte, aber jetzt?
Ich tue mein Bestes, Sir. Aber alleine schaffe ich nicht alles. Dieser Garten macht eine Menge Arbeit, Sir.
Sagen Sie, Henry, wie kamen Sie mit Sir William zurecht?
Okay, I think it's saying
Ich
the
kannte ihn
garden
nicht
is a lot of
richtig,
work.
Sir.
I'm only one person.
Ich habe ihn kaum gesehen.
Sie haben jeden Tag hier gearbeitet und ihn trotzdem kaum gesehen?
Nun sehen Sie, Sir William ging nicht sehr oft in den Garten. Und ich bekomme meine Anweisung nur von Madame Victoria. Bates durfte als einziger sein Arbeitszimmer betreten. Er hat sonst niemanden reingelassen.
Können Sie mir sonst noch irgendetwas über ihn sagen?
Ich möchte es Ihnen eigentlich nicht so gern sagen.
Was denn?
Naja, wie soll ich sagen? Alle hielten ihn für ein bisschen verrückt, wenn Sie wissen, was ich meine.
Reden Sie weiter.
Ich möchte eigentlich nicht darüber reden, Sir. Fragen Sie bitte jemand anderen.
Was meint er damit? Warum sollte man William für verrückt halten? Ich will Sie nicht länger stören.
Okay. Anyone else we can talk to around here? Not really. I think that's about everyone around here. Let me see. Did I have any other notes? Just a moment. We'll scroll down. Let's see. Right, there was a whole thing. So Morris says that Henry is a drunkard, but Morris later admits, when we're talking to him about something else, I think when we're accusing him of stealing things, he says something like, in the English version at least, he says something like, I may be a drunkard and something or other, but I am no thief, or something like that. And we later find a letter written by Henry, at least with the idea of telling Victoria about Morris stealing wine from the cellar. So I guess in this situation, Morris is lying about his own stealing, because we do find a white bottle of wine in the stable, and I don't think there's really anything to implicate Henry as drinking. We find a little, what's it called, like a little hip flask in the drawer in the greenhouse, which is where Henry stays, but not really anything else. So I don't know, that just seemed to be there to cause some animosity between the two of them, and I guess make them both suspicious. But I don't know, maybe they both drink on the job or something, I don't know. Let's see. Herman mentions he wants something to tell us about the next day at the morgue. When asked about it, he doesn't remember saying that and dismisses the whole thing. Right, yeah, mentioned that. Herman was decapitated, but there's basically no blood anywhere. Yep, mentioned that. What was the whole thing about the miners in the mine? Apparently the mines were haunted. Right. So later on, when we're going through the... Where is it? When does it happen? I think it's in the catacombs underneath the church. We fall down a hole and into a series of abandoned mines, and we learn about a miner there who ended up dying of dehydration because there was a cave-in, a bunch of the miners were killed, and a barrel rolled on top of the hatch for the room which he was in, and he had an infection in his arm because it was broken in the cave-in or something, and while he was able to survive off moisture from the pipes, he ended up dying after a period of time anyway. At one point, they sort of mentioned that many of the miners don't want to work in the mines anymore because they fear that the mines are haunted. One of them mentions that I can hear voices down one of the new tunnels, and I don't want to go there. And they sort of mentioned that I think the miners have been heard saying like the same things over and over again, or like chanting things or something. and going crazy because of this section of the mine. Whether that's there just to up the creepy nature of the mines or not, I don't know. But that doesn't really seem to go anywhere else either. The whole mine section is also kind of just separate from everything else. It's just like, I don't know, you're in the mines now, you have to figure your way out of there. It kind of does tie into what I feel is that the game doesn't really have a good place in history. It feels oddly, I don't know, timeless, I guess, which makes sense for the castle and the family and all that here. I mean, Samuel mentions himself that the whole place feels basically timeless. Things haven't really changed over the last 12 years, so at least, you know, if this is 81, that means things really haven't changed since 1969 when he was here last. I don't know how old Samuel is. I guess if he dies, we'd be able to see his gravestone, but I didn't keep track of what his birth date is. So I would have to watch that to find that out again. Anything else which I want to mention about this? Can't really think of anything. The ending of the game does come across it very quickly. It's sort of like, there's a portal, go through the portal, then you use the keys on the altar after spilling blood on it, and then you close it off and stop your evil ancestor from coming back to life or something like that, or something. I don't know. It's not really explained what he's planning on doing, just that, oh, something terrible will happen and one of your ancestors will kill 5 people. But, yeah. I can understand the ending not being terribly satisfying. Samuel ends up killing himself at the end because of his actions under the control of his ancestor. Which, I guess is kind of understandable. But, yeah. Still a terrible thing, but... what else? I think that's about it, really. Yeah, so there are plot holes in it. The game maybe doesn't do a good job of explaining a bunch of things, or brings things up only to drop them, and doesn't elaborate on them. People have mentioned that it does explain, yeah, in the sequel, they try to make sense of most of it. Vic's sister also plays a role in it. Right, okay. Yeah, so they try and wrap up some of the loose ends in the sequels. Which, might be more motivation to play the second and third ones. We'll have to see. I think they take place in America, do they? Anyway. What else? Robert disappears for a number of days, and it's not really clear what has happened to him during that time until he appears dead at the ruins of the lighthouse, which is where Samuel kills him. I don't know. Does he actually disappear somewhere? We can understand that Samuel doesn't know entirely what's going on or what his own actions are. So maybe Samuel kills Robert at some point off screen, and then he dumps his body there, but James sees him. But we don't actually get, like, a coroner's report, because the coroner is dead, as to how long Robert had been dead for. We don't even see his body. It's just, oh, he was found there, and he was dead. That's about all we know. So whether he was killed there in a struggle, or murdered on the spot because he tried to hunt down James and, I don't know, bring him back to the sanatorium or something, I am unsure of. But, yeah. Robert disappearing for a few days and then showing up dead is odd. Like, where was he for those few days? I guess, in a way, him disappearing is a reason for you to go into his study. Well, that is the reason why you're going to his study, because you haven't seen him for a few days. Or actually, no, hang on. No, I think you only go into his study after you find out that he's dead. So, him disappearing doesn't really... I guess that serves the purpose of letting you into the sanitarium, because you wouldn't be able to go in there before. He's mentioned as going from his study to going to the sanitarium and then leaving the sanitarium but never arriving back at the mansion. And then you go to the sanitarium to find out more about him, and that's why you're let in there, because you're like, oh, I'm Samuel Gordon, Robert has disappeared, I'm looking to find out what happened to him. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess he's got a secret laboratory somewhere. It's not like we went everywhere in the sanatorium. I assume Robert has an office there, but we never got to see that. If it exists. So, yeah. And that goes back into the experiments he was performing. What was the purpose of those? We don't know. There was some drawings of, I think, like, wires connecting to the brain in his diary. But, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't have any... It didn't have anything else. It didn't have any further elaboration on in this game. So, yeah. Anyway, that'll be it for this. A very, very short look at the German version. I agree. I like the voice acting in it. None of the characters do sound quite a bit better than the English ones, as even as far as I can tell. And it's nice also the extra steps they took in redoing the cutscenes, so they're not in English, they're actually in German. And so on. So, yeah. There's actually a number of different voice versions of this game. I think you have access to a bunch of them on GOG. The game was originally done by a Czech company, so I would wonder whether they would have like a... I'd assume they'd have a version of the game in the native language, but... yeah, I think so. English, Czechsky. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. German, Spanish, French, Italian, Polish, and Russian. So, yeah. Anyway, I won't be looking at all those other versions. It'll be interesting to see what if it has voice acting for in the Czech language. If that was like what the developers originally intended for it or not. But yeah, anyway, I'll thank you very much for joining, and I hope you join me again next time.